I think I didn't do anything wrong, just said what everyone else was thinking. And now I'm standing here holding a letter from a lawyer. My husband says he's done with me, that he has all the proof he needs. All this because I told him he was just a friend, and I let myself fall back into someone else's arms. But let me start from the beginning, because I need you to understand how we got here. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. The kitchen counter was cluttered with Ellie's school papers and Marcus's work files when I finally decided to say what had been building inside me for months. My husband of 10 years stood there in his rumpled accountant shirt, methodically sorting through receipts like they were the most fascinating things in the world. "Marcus," I said, leaning against the doorframe, "we need to talk." He looked up, those tired brown eyes meeting mine. "About what, Ottilie?" "About us. About how we've become, I don't know, roommates? Friends at best?" I watched his face carefully. This was the opening I'd been planning, the conversation that would justify everything I'd been feeling, everything I'd been doing. Marcus deserved to know where he stood, even if he wouldn't like it. "I thought we were married," he said quietly, setting down his papers. "On paper, sure, but when's the last time you made me feel like a woman instead of just your buddy who happens to share a bed?" Marcus ran his hand through his thinning hair. "Ottilie, I work 60 hours a week to keep this house, to pay for Ellie's school." "And I work too," I interrupted, "but I still make an effort. I still try to be interesting, to be attractive. You just exist." The words hung between us like a blade. I could see him processing them, trying to figure out what I wanted him to say. But that was the problem. I shouldn't have to spell it out for him. "What do you want from me?" he asked. "I want space. I want to feel like we're friends first, and maybe we can figure out if there's anything else worth saving." Friends. The word felt perfect on my tongue. It gave me exactly the freedom I needed while making it sound like I was trying to save our marriage. That night, as Marcus retreated to his side of the bed, my phone buzzed with a text. Derek's name lit up the screen. "Thinking about our conversation today. You deserve someone who sees how amazing you are." I glanced at Marcus, already asleep, then typed back, "Thank you for understanding me." I deleted the message thread immediately after sending it. Not because I was doing anything wrong, but because Marcus had been acting paranoid lately, and I didn't need him misunderstanding a perfectly innocent friendship. The next morning, I called my mother. "Sylvia," I said, using her first name like always, "I think Marcus and I are having problems." "What kind of problems, honey?" "He's just distant, unromantic. I feel like I'm married to a calculator instead of a man." There was a pause. "Well, maybe you should try being more supportive. Men need encouragement." "I've tried, Mom, but I can't be the only one making an effort." Meanwhile, Marcus was probably calling his mother too. Helen Marrow had never particularly liked me. She thought her precious son deserved someone more traditional. I could picture her pursed lips as Marcus explained our conversation, probably telling him I was being unreasonable. But I wasn't being unreasonable. I was being honest. That evening, Marcus found me in the bedroom, scrolling through my phone. "Who are you texting?" he asked, and there was something different in his voice. I looked up, smiling brightly. "Just Derek from college, you remember him? He reached out on Facebook." Marcus's face changed. "Derek Sloan? You do remember. He's going through a divorce, poor thing. Just needed someone to talk to." I watched Marcus's jaw tighten. "I see." "Oh, don't look like that. We're just friends catching up. You trust me, don't you?" He nodded, but I could see the doubt creeping in. Good. Maybe a little jealousy would wake him up, make him realize what he had to lose. As he headed to the bathroom, another message from Derek popped up. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow. It's been too long." I quickly deleted it, my heart racing as I heard Marcus's footsteps returning. The cafe on 5th Street was perfect, busy enough that we wouldn't stand out, far enough from my office that I wouldn't run into colleagues. Derek was already there when I arrived, looking exactly like the man who'd broken my heart 15 years ago, just with better clothes and confidence that came from success. Ottilie. He stood to hug me, and I let myself melt into his arms for just a moment longer than appropriate. You look incredible. You're not so bad yourself. I slid into the booth across from him, suddenly aware of how alive I felt. When was the last time Marcus had looked at me like Derek was looking at me now? So, Derek said, stirring his coffee, tell me about married life. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. What's to tell? I'm basically a single mom with a roommate who pays half the bills. That bad? He's a good man, I said, because I wasn't a monster. He's just boring, predictable. I told him the other day that we're more like friends than spouses, and he didn't even argue. Derek reached across the table and touched my hand. His loss. The contact sent electricity through me. This was what I'd been missing: passion, desire, the feeling that I mattered to someone. I shouldn't be here, I said, but I didn't pull my hand away. Why not? You're allowed to have friends. Friends. There was that word again, but when Derek said it, it felt like a promise of something more. We talked for 2 hours. About college, about his divorce, about dreams we'd given up. When he walked me to my car, he kissed my cheek, letting his lips linger just a second too long. Same time next week? He asked. I should have said no. Instead, I heard myself saying, I'll text you. Back at the office, my coworker Jessica cornered me by the coffee machine. Hot lunch date? She asked with a knowing smile. Just an old friend? Uh-huh. Well, your old friend is gorgeous. Lucky you. I felt a flutter of panic. It's not like that, Jess. I'm married. I know. I'm just saying, if I had a friend who looked at me like that... She shrugged and walked away. That evening, Marcus tried to surprise me with dinner reservations. I thought we could go to that Italian place you like, he said, actually smiling for once. Oh, Marcus, I can't. I have to work late. We're launching that new campaign, and there are a million details to sort out. His face fell. Maybe tomorrow? Maybe. I'll let you know. It wasn't technically a lie. I did have work to catch up on, just not at the office. I spent the evening texting Derek, sharing stories about my day, feeling understood in a way I hadn't in years. Marcus tried to plan a date night, I typed. Sweet, but terrible timing. He doesn't deserve you, Derek replied immediately. A woman like you should be cherished, not treated like an afterthought. I stared at the message, my heart pounding. This was dangerous territory, but God, it felt good to be wanted. The next day, Jessica approached me again. Hey, I think I saw you yesterday, at that cafe on 5th. You were with the same guy from your lunch. My blood went cold. I told you, he's just a friend. Okay. I just thought it was weird because you told Marcus you were working late. How do you know what I told my husband? Jessica held up her hands. Relax. He called the office looking for you around 7. I answered and told him you'd left hours ago. That night, Marcus was waiting for me in the kitchen, the phone bill spread out on the counter. We need to talk, he said quietly. My mouth went dry. About what? About the 300 text messages to the same number this month. I forced myself to stay calm. If you're talking about Derek, I told you, he's going through a divorce. He needs support. 300 messages worth of support? Marcus, are you seriously going through our phone records? That's controlling behavior. I watched him flinch at the accusation. Good. Put him on the defensive. I'm not trying to control you, Ottilie. I'm trying to understand why my wife is having more conversations with another man than with me. Maybe because he actually listens when I talk. Maybe because he doesn't make me feel guilty for having friends. Marcus stared at me for a long moment. Is that what you think this is? Friendship? What else would it be? But even as I said it, I was thinking about Derek's hands on mine, about the way he looked at me, about the plans we'd been making to meet again. Marcus folded up the phone bill. I guess I'm just being paranoid. You are, I said firmly. And it's not attractive. That night, I texted Derek. He's getting suspicious. We might need to be more careful. Or, Derek replied, you could stop pretending you're happy with him. I stared at the message until Marcus came to bed, then quickly deleted the entire conversation, just to be safe. I spent all morning preparing for the dinner party, our first in months. I wanted everything perfect, wanted to show our friends that Marcus and I were still the successful, happy couple they remembered, even if the reality was more complicated. Can you help me move this table? I asked Marcus as he wandered through the living room in his weekend clothes. Sure. He lifted his end without enthusiasm. Remind me who's coming again? The Hendersons, Jessica and her husband, Ruth and Tom. I smoothed the tablecloth, eyeing the arrangement critically. Try to be charming tonight, okay? These are important people. Marcus gave me a look I couldn't quite read. I'll do my best. By 7, our living room was full of laughter and wine glasses. I was in my element, playing the perfect hostess, making sure everyone felt welcome and entertained. This was what I was good at. Bringing people together, being the center of attention in the best possible way. Ottilie, this salmon is incredible, Jessica's husband David said, raising his glass to me. Oh, you're too kind. Though I have to give credit where it's due, Marcus did help with the dishes. Everyone laughed, including Marcus, though I noticed his smile seemed forced. As the evening progressed and the wine flowed, the conversation became more relaxed, more intimate. Somehow we ended up discussing relationships, the challenges of long-term marriage. The key, I said, gesturing with my wine glass, is being realistic about what you can expect from your partner. Marcus and I, we've learned to be friends first, haven't we, honey? Marcus nodded slowly. Friends, right. I mean, let's be honest, I continued, encouraged by the attention. Romance is lovely, but friendship is what lasts. Marcus is like my very best friend who happens to live in my house and help pay the mortgage. More laughter from our guests. I was on a roll. In fact, I said, warming to my theme, I sometimes joke that Marcus is permanently friend-zoned, but he's okay with that, aren't you, sweetheart? The laughter was more uncomfortable now. I noticed Ruth, Marcus's sister, wasn't smiling at all. I think, Marcus said quietly, maybe we should change the subject. Oh, come on, don't be so sensitive, I said, patting his arm condescendingly. Everyone knows I'm just teasing. Marcus is a good sport about it. He knows he's not exactly the most passionate man in the world, but that's fine. We work as friends. The silence stretched too long. David cleared his throat and started talking about work, but I could feel the shift in the room's energy. After everyone left, I found Marcus in the kitchen, methodically loading the dishwasher. That was fun, I said brightly. I think everyone had a great time. Marcus didn't look up. Did you enjoy humiliating me? What are you talking about? I was just being honest about our relationship. You told our friends I was friend-zoned, in front of my sister. I felt a flash of irritation. Marcus, you're being way too sensitive. It was just a joke. Was it? Because it felt pretty accurate from where I was sitting. Look, if you don't like how I describe our marriage, maybe you should work on being the kind of husband who inspires different descriptions. He finally looked at me then, and something in his expression made my stomach clench. You're right, he said softly. Maybe I should. That night, Marcus moved his pillow and blanket to the guest room. When I asked him what he was doing, he just said he thought we could both use some space to think about what kind of relationship we really wanted. I lay in our suddenly too large bed, staring at the ceiling. This wasn't how the evening was supposed to go. I'd wanted to show everyone how sophisticated and mature our marriage was, how we'd evolved beyond childish romantic expectations. Instead, I felt like something important had shifted, and I wasn't sure how to shift it back. I picked up my phone and texted Derek. Rough night. Could really use a friend right now. He responded immediately. Want to talk about it? I'm here for you. Maybe we could meet tomorrow. I need to get out of this house. Of course, whatever you need. I fell asleep holding my phone, Derek's words of support the only warm thing in my suddenly cold bedroom. The next morning, I woke up alone. Marcus's car was gone from the driveway, and there was a note on the kitchen counter. Taking Ellie to Mom's for the day. We'll be back tonight. I should have been relieved to have the house to myself. Instead, I felt oddly hollow, like I'd won a game I hadn't meant to be playing. The office felt different on Monday morning. Conversations stopped when I walked by, and Jessica avoided making eye contact. By lunch, I couldn't take it anymore. Okay, what's going on? I cornered Jessica by the elevators. She looked uncomfortable. People are just talking. About what? About you and that guy from the cafe, and about what you said at your dinner party. My heart sank. David told people? Ottilie, you basically announced that you don't love your husband, in front of 6 people. What did you think would happen? That's not what I said. It's what everyone heard. Jessica's voice was gentle but firm. Look, I like you, but people are starting to wonder if you're having an affair. And after seeing you with that Derek guy, we're friends, I said automatically. Are you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're shopping for a replacement husband while publicly humiliating the one you have. I wanted to argue, but the words stuck in my throat. Because wasn't that exactly what I was doing? That evening, Marcus still wasn't home when I picked up Ellie from school. My 8-year-old daughter was unusually quiet during dinner. Where's Daddy? She asked, pushing her mac and cheese around her plate. He's at Grandma Helen's. He'll be home later. Why doesn't he live here anymore? The question hit me like a physical blow. What do you mean, sweetie? Daddy lives here. But he sleeps in the other room now, and he's always sad. I reached across the table and took her small hand. Daddy and I are just going through a rough patch. Sometimes adults need space to figure things out. Is it because you don't like him anymore? Ellie, where would you get an idea like that? I heard you tell those people that Daddy was just your friend. But if he's just your friend, why can't he be your husband too? Out of the mouths of babes, I struggled to find an answer that made sense even to myself. It's complicated, baby. But I want you to know that whatever happens between Daddy and me, we both love you very much. Ellie nodded solemnly, but I could see the confusion and fear in her eyes. This wasn't what I'd wanted, to hurt my daughter, to make her feel insecure. My phone buzzed with a text from Derek. How are you holding up? Not great. Can we talk tomorrow? Always. You know I'm here for whatever you need. I looked at my daughter, still quietly eating her dinner, and felt a wave of guilt. But then I thought about Marcus, about his accusations and suspicions, about the way he'd abandoned us to stay at his mother's house. I might need more than just talking, I typed back. Derek's response came quickly. I was hoping you'd say that. I deleted the conversation and put my phone away, but the anticipation was already building in my chest. The next day, Ruth showed up at my office. Marcus's sister had always been polite but distant with me, and seeing her in my workplace felt ominous. We need to talk, she said without preamble. I led her to an empty conference room, my palms sweating. Ruth, if this is about the dinner party, it's about my brother, she interrupted, and what you're doing to him. I'm not doing anything to him. Really? Because he's been staying at Mom's for 3 days, crying over his marriage. And meanwhile, half the town is talking about how his wife is cheating on him. I am not cheating. Then what do you call spending every afternoon with your ex-boyfriend while telling everyone who will listen that your husband means nothing to you? I felt cornered, defensive. Marcus and I are having problems. I'm allowed to have friends. Friends don't kiss in parking lots, Ottilie. My blood turned to ice. What are you talking about? Mrs. Patterson from the flower shop saw you last Tuesday. She called Mom because she was concerned. I tried to think, to remember. Last Tuesday at the cafe, Derek had walked me to my car, and yes, there had been a kiss. But it was just a goodbye kiss. Nothing serious. Except it had lasted longer than a goodbye kiss should, and my hands had been in his hair, and I'd pressed myself against him like I was drowning, and he was air. It's not what you think. I think you're destroying your family for a man who's already been divorced once. I think you're hurting my brother and confusing your daughter, and for what? Some middle-aged fantasy? Ruth's words hit like physical blows. You don't understand the situation. I understand that Marcus loves you. I understand that he's been working himself to death trying to provide for you and Ellie. And I understand that instead of appreciating what you have, you're throwing it away for some excitement. She stood to leave, then turned back. He's talking to a lawyer, Ottilie. Mom's been pushing him to, and after what happened at your dinner party, he's finally listening. If you want to save your marriage, you better figure out what you really want, and fast. After she left, I sat alone in the conference room, shaking. This was spiraling out of control. What had started as innocent friendship, as a way to get Marcus's attention, had become something bigger and more dangerous than I'd intended. But even as I sat there, my phone buzzed with another message from Derek. Lunch today? I have something important to tell you. I stared at the message, knowing I should delete it, should go home and fight for my marriage. Instead, I typed back, yes, same place. Because the truth was, even with everything falling apart, Derek was the only person who made me feel alive. And wasn't I entitled to feel alive? The law office smelled like leather and disappointment. I sat across from Marcus and his attorney, a sharp-eyed woman named Patricia Williams, who looked at me like I was something unpleasant she'd scraped off her shoe. Mrs. Marrow, she began, opening a thick folder, we're here to discuss the dissolution of your marriage and custody arrangements for your daughter. Dissolution? I looked at Marcus, who wouldn't meet my eyes. Marcus, we can work this out. We don't need lawyers. Actually, Patricia continued, we do. Because my client has evidence of adultery, which affects both the financial settlement and custody considerations. She spread photographs across the table. Me and Derek at the cafe. Me and Derek in the parking lot, kissing. Me and Derek at a hotel last week. A meeting I'd convinced myself was just coffee, even though we'd gotten a room. How did you... Private investigator, Marcus said quietly. Mom insisted. I stared at the photos, my face burning with shame and anger. You had me followed? You lied to me for months, Marcus replied. Every time I asked about Derek, you said he was just a friend. Every time I expressed concern, you made me feel like I was being paranoid and controlling. Patricia pulled out more documents. Phone records showing over 800 text messages and 47 phone calls to Mr. Sloan in the past 2 months. Bank statements showing charges at restaurants and hotels that you didn't disclose to your husband. Social media posts where you refer to your marriage as settling and your husband as just a friend. Each piece of evidence felt like a nail in my coffin. Marcus, please. Can we talk privately? No, he said firmly. We're past private conversations. You've made it clear that I'm just a friend to you, and friends don't get to make decisions about your life, so I'm making decisions about mine. What about Ellie? She needs her mother. She needs stability, Marcus corrected. She needs to live with the parent who puts her first, who doesn't disappear from mysterious work emergencies that turn out to be hotel visits with an ex-boyfriend. Patricia slid a custody proposal across the table. Primary physical custody to Mr. Marrow, with supervised visitation for you until you complete counseling and demonstrate stability. Supervised? You can't be serious. You've been lying to your family for months, Patricia said coolly. You've exposed your daughter to an unstable home environment. The court will want to ensure her safety. I looked at Marcus desperately. This isn't you. Your mother is poisoning you against me. My mother didn't make you cheat, Marcus said. My mother didn't make you humiliate me in front of our friends. My mother didn't make you tell our 8-year-old daughter that I was just a friend who happened to live in our house. I never said that to Ellie. She repeated it to the school counselor when they asked why she seemed upset lately. It's in her file. The room felt like it was closing in on me. This couldn't be happening. Yes, I'd made mistakes, but divorce? Losing custody of my daughter? This was supposed to be about getting Marcus's attention, making him appreciate me more. I want to save our marriage, I said desperately. I'll end things with Derek. I'll do counseling. Whatever you want. Marcus finally looked at me directly. Ottilie, you told me I belonged in the friend zone. You told our friends I was permanently friend-zoned. You told our daughter I was just your friend, and all while you were having an affair with a man you said you belonged with. I never said I belonged with Derek. You posted it on Facebook last week. Sometimes you don't know what you're missing until it walks back into your life. Some people are worth the risk. I had posted that. In a moment of romantic euphoria after Derek and I'd deleted it within an hour, but apparently not soon enough. Marcus, I love you. No, he said quietly. You love the security I provide. You love having someone to pay half the bills and watch Ellie when you want to meet your boyfriend. But you don't love me. You've made that very clear. Patricia gathered her papers. Mrs. Marrow, you have 48 hours to vacate the family home. Mr. Marrow will be returning with his daughter, and we've obtained a restraining order preventing you from interfering with his parenting time. A restraining order? Marcus, how can you do this to me? How can I do this to you? For the first time, emotion cracked his voice. Ottilie, I've spent 10 years trying to be enough for you. I worked overtime to pay for your car, your clothes, your girls' nights out. I took care of Ellie every time you had a work emergency. I listened to you complain about how boring I was and tried to be more exciting. And the whole time, you were planning your exit strategy with another man. That's not true. Derek told you he was getting divorced 6 months ago. You've been emotionally cheating for 6 months, physically cheating for at least 2. The only reason you're upset now is because you got caught. I wanted to argue, but the words wouldn't come. Because he was right. I had been planning, fantasizing about a different life. I just hadn't expected the consequences to be so severe. What am I supposed to do? Where am I supposed to go? That, Marcus said, standing up, is no longer my problem. As I sat in my car outside the law office, I called Derek. They want me to move out, I said when he answered. Marcus is taking Ellie. There was a pause. Wow, that's heavy. I know, but maybe this is a sign, you know? Maybe this is the universe telling us we're meant to be together. Another pause, longer this time. Ottilie, I need to be honest with you. I'm not looking for anything serious right now. I just got out of a marriage, and I'm not ready to jump into another one. My stomach dropped. What are you saying? I'm saying you're amazing, and what we have is great, but I think you might have the wrong idea about what this is. What this is? Derek, I'm losing my family for you. I never asked you to do that. I thought you were just having some fun, blowing off steam. I didn't realize you were planning to leave your husband. The line went quiet, except for the sound of my heart breaking. So what am I supposed to do now? I whispered. I don't know, Derek said gently. But I think you need to figure out what you really want, and it can't be me. After he hung up, I sat in the parking lot and cried until I couldn't breathe. This wasn't how it was supposed to happen. I was supposed to be the heroine of my own story, the woman who chose passion over settling, who refused to accept a boring marriage. Instead, I was alone, homeless, and facing the loss of my daughter. And for the first time, I began to wonder if maybe, just maybe, I had been wrong about everything. The courthouse was smaller than I'd expected, less dramatic than the movies made divorce proceedings seem. I sat next to my court-appointed attorney. I couldn't afford Patricia Williams's caliber of representation, while Marcus sat with his legal team looking calm and prepared. All rise for the Honorable Judge Martinez. The next hour passed in a blur of legal terminology and financial arrangements. The judge reviewed the evidence, asked a few perfunctory questions, and granted Marcus everything he'd requested: primary custody of Ellie, the house, most of our shared assets. "Mrs. Marrow," the judge said, looking at me over her reading glasses, "you'll have supervised visitation with your daughter every other weekend, pending completion of family counseling and a psychological evaluation. Do you understand?" "Yes, Your Honor." "And you understand that you have 30 days to remove your personal belongings from the family residence?" "Yes, Your Honor." Just like that, 10 years of marriage dissolved into a pile of paperwork and legal obligations. Outside the courthouse, Marcus was loading boxes into his truck, my boxes, packed with what remained of my life. Ellie sat in the passenger seat, looking small and confused. "Mommy?" She rolled down the window as I approached. "Are you coming home with us?" I knelt beside the truck, fighting back tears. "Not today, baby. But I'll see you soon, okay? Daddy and we're going to live in different places for a while." "Because you don't love each other anymore?" The question cut deep. "Sometimes adults make mistakes, Ellie, and sometimes those mistakes have consequences." Marcus appeared beside me, his expression unreadable. "Say goodbye, Ottilie. We need to get going." "Marcus, please, can we just talk for 5 minutes?" "We've talked enough." He helped Ellie roll up the window and walked around to the driver's side. "I'm sorry," I called out as he started the engine. "I know you probably don't believe me, but I really am sorry." He paused, window down, and for a moment I thought he might say something kind, something that would give me hope. Instead, he said, "I'm sorry too. Sorry it took me so long to realize that you never saw me as more than a placeholder." As they drove away, Ellie's small hand pressed against the rear window in a wave goodbye. I stood alone in the courthouse parking lot, watching my family disappear around the corner. My phone buzzed with notifications, Facebook comments on the vague, self-pitying post I'd made that morning about starting over and people showing their true colors. But instead of sympathy, I found criticism. "Maybe you should have thought about this before cheating on your husband," wrote someone from my high school. "That poor little girl," commented a former co-worker. "Marcus is better off without you," said Ruth, Marcus's sister. Even my own mother had left a comment. "Some bridges shouldn't be burned, honey. I hope you figure that out before it's too late." But it was already too late. I'd burned every bridge I'd ever built, alienated every person who'd ever cared about me, all for a man who'd made it clear I was just a temporary distraction. I drove to the small apartment I'd rented across town, all I could afford on my marketing coordinator salary without Marcus's income to supplement it. The place was furnished but soulless, nothing like the home I'd spent years decorating and perfecting. That evening, I sat alone with a bottle of wine and tried to make sense of how everything had gone so wrong so quickly. In my mind, I'd been the protagonist of a romantic story, a woman trapped in a passionless marriage who found the courage to reach for something better. But looking back honestly, I could see the truth that everyone else had seen from the beginning. I hadn't been brave or romantic. I'd been selfish and cruel. I'd taken a good man who loved me and treated him like he was worthless, all while convincing myself I was the victim. Marcus had never been the problem. He'd worked hard, loved our daughter, tried to make me happy even when I made it clear nothing he did would ever be enough. He'd been a faithful husband and devoted father, and I'd repaid him by publicly humiliating him and cheating on him with my ex-boyfriend, the friend zone. I'd thought I was so clever, so sophisticated, reducing our marriage to friendship while I pursued excitement elsewhere. But friendship was supposed to be built on trust, respect, and mutual care. I hadn't treated Marcus like a friend at all. I'd treated him like a servant. My phone rang. For a wild moment, I hoped it might be Marcus, or even Derek. Instead, it was my mother. "Ottilie, honey, I just wanted to check on you." "I'm fine, Mom." "No, you're not. And that's okay. But you need to understand that this is your fault, all of it." I'd been waiting for someone to tell me it wasn't, that Marcus had overreacted, that I deserved forgiveness. Hearing my own mother confirm what I already knew felt like a final door slamming shut. "I know," I whispered. "Do you? Because your Facebook posts make it sound like you think you're the victim here." "I lost my family, Mom. I lost everything." "You threw it away," she corrected gently. "There's a difference. And until you can admit that, really admit it, you'll never be able to build anything real again." After she hung up, I deleted my Facebook account. There was no point in seeking sympathy I didn't deserve from people who could see right through me. 6 months later, I saw Marcus and Ellie at the grocery store. My daughter had grown taller, and she was laughing at something her father had said. They looked happy together, peaceful in a way our family had never been when I was part of it. Marcus saw me watching them and nodded politely, the way you might acknowledge a distant acquaintance. There was no anger in his expression anymore, no hurt, just indifference. I'd wanted him to fight for me, to chase me, to prove that I mattered. Instead, he'd let me go and built a better life without me. As I watched them walk away together, I finally understood what I'd lost. Not just a husband and daughter, but the chance to be part of something bigger than my own selfish desires. I'd had a family, a home, a man who loved me despite my flaws, and I'd thrown it all away because I thought I deserved more exciting love than the steady, dependable kind Marcus offered. Now I know the truth. I didn't deserve any love at all. But Marcus had given it to me anyway for 10 whole years until I finally convinced him to stop. I put him in the friend zone because I thought friendship wasn't enough. Turns out, I wasn't even worthy of that. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Write in the comments from which city you are watching,